You ever noticed how the people who give the most, who stay the nicest, who bend the furthest, are often the same ones who eventually snap? Today we're diving into why that happens, why showing your other side after months of swallowing your needs and your emotional, authentic expression usually doesn't feel as powerful as you hoped. Why it's not actually empowerment, and it's called emotional debt coming due. And most importantly, how to break the cycle before you burn out, blow up, or walk away feeling like you lost yourself. If you ever been the overgiver who one day says, I am done, this episode is for you. Let's talk about how to protect your energy sooner, stand your ground earlier, and move through life clear, but not in a cold way. So without further ado, let's just go right into it. It is a Monday and it has been a minute of a lot of chaos in my corporate job. And every time I get a little bit of pressure and it's getting messy there, I always feel like I want to quit. So I slightly had that feeling, but I also know it's just really due to all these ebbs and flows and high roller coaster rides whenever, business or things at work are just sucky. So yeah, how are you doing? How has your April been? We are at the end of the month and it is crazy how time flies. I don't know how it is about you, but I feel like we start a month and then it ends and I'm like, what happened in between? And loads is happening in between. I just came back from vacation 2 weeks ago. So basically last week was my first week after the vacation. I might just do a podcast around my vacation because it was a pure family vacation I have really never done, or not never, but I haven't done in maybe 25 years. So it's been really a long time. So it was a good one, but definitely a few things to unpack here. But today we are going into emotional debt and how suppression of our needs, of your needs, of my needs over a longer stretch of time can really go into that feeling and sense of, I want to pay that person back, or are you starting to turn the love and respect you have for the person into hatred or something like, I don't want to do anything for you, leave me the F alone. So I also want to offer you kind of what to do instead. And the reason why I come up with that topic for today's podcast and why it is actually important also for your life is because I've seen this in clients so many times that they are doing things over and over again and then obviously hitting the wall and want to retaliate. Sometimes they really do so, and then obviously we will regret when we retaliate. It's just a short moment that we feel happy about it, or not maybe happy, but like, yeah, I've paid someone back, or I said no, or I'm going to show the person who I really am. And that is always just very short because it's not actually your higher self speaking here. It's more or less our ego going into protection. So that's what we're gonna do today, because this overgiving, like the pattern of giving, and then snapping is just not going to work if you want to have a fulfilling life. And I have been doing this for a lot of time of my life, so a long period of my time. So it's not something that I am above or that I just talk about theoretically because I've never experienced it. It is my experience. And I've done a lot of pleasing. I have been absolutely a perfect people pleasing. I was perfectionating people pleasing because I saw what it would get me until I lost myself so deeply, and obviously attracted a lot of bad people into my life too, because, bad patterns of behavior, bad patterns are often attract also people that show you a lesson, not because they consciously show you a lesson, but I feel like God brings you the people along the way who show you what actually doesn't work anymore. Okay, so I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is an example of a people pleaser. He is a very nice person. He genuinely is a nice person. Yet the problem is that this niceness comes on the spectrum towards people pleasing, like hardcore. And he has a boss he doesn't come along with, and kind of got, let me just close the door here because I can hear it opening slightly, closing it. So he has been basically getting a year performance review in his corporate job from 2024 that he does not agree with. And we started the conversation, and then he was like saying, now I'm going to show her, like referring to his boss, who I really am. I will show her my real face. And I'm like curious. I'm like, what is your real face? Is your real face the retaliating one, the resentful one, the one who wants to punish back? The one that you think is like the face that is actually your shadow? And then he was thinking about it, and he was very emotional. So obviously we were not having a very logical conversation. I just helped him express his resentments, voicing out loud all the things that he did, voicing out loud what he did, and what obviously led to the path of him sacrificing a lot of time and a lot of effort and doing things that were just where he was doing things where he sacrificed his time and the effort that he put into his job. So, and he was overgiving, he was overpleasing. And I also noticed from his personal life, he has a personality, and I don't want to go into it because it's always the same. It's the same pattern people that I'm working with show. So, if you are someone who identifies as a recovering people pleaser, you have ever stayed too long in a draining friendship, for example, or tolerated a toxic boss, or kept chasing the bare minimum from a love interest, you've probably been there. So what I mean by you've been there is you're keeping the peace, you accommodate, you explain things away, you stay nice, even though it's actually not your natural reaction, it's just a conditioning. Until one day it's too much. You, as in my case, my friend got a corporate performance review that he absolutely didn't agree with. And suddenly, the same person who was always there, always understanding, always over-functioning says, like in that case, my friend, enough, I'm done. And either they shut down, go cold, lash out, or just mentally check out. And that's not because we are mean. You're not mean. My friend is not mean. But because my friend or you have hit their edge. And here's something important to understand. When you suppress your needs or avoid confrontation, it does not disappear. We really need to bear that in mind. Suppression of our needs or feelings, it actually just accumulates. It becomes what psychologists call emotional debt. So Dr. Gabo Mate, under whom I studied, talks about this in relation to the cost of self-abandonment. So when you continuously, for example, suppress your emotions to avoid conflict, you're not avoiding stress, you are internalizing it. And eventually that debt gets paid, and often, unfortunately, all at once, and that's when it comes out. This very unhealthy blowout and the angry inner child. And this whole, coming out, whatever comes out of you, it might be anger, it might be you're yelling, you're screaming, you're saying things maybe that you absolutely regret just a few minutes later. This is not the healthy, assertive version of you speaking. Again, that's the inner child. And the part of you that never learned how to express needs safely is actually at works. The one who thinks the only way to be taken seriously is to finally snap, explode, or withdraw entirely. But this other side you show is not empowerment. So my friend saying, I'm gonna show her my real face, is not the empowered version. It's a defense mechanism. It's a reaction and definitely not a resolution to the core problem. So I did a bit of research for this episode, as I usually do, because I like to understand a little bit what research has to say in that matter. And studies on emotional regulation, for example, show that suppression of your emotions, it doesn't come as a surprise, and especially the suppression of emotions over time is linked with higher levels of anxiety, depression, and of course, physical health issues. And I'm in an age, and many of my clients at the similar age or maybe a little older than I, get physical health issues. And often I'm not surprised, especially if I have worked with a client for a longer time, because I know what we are working on is exactly this constant suppression of your emotions and not being able to emotionally regulate when interpersonal issues arise, for example. And one study that I pulled out from the Journal of Psychosomatic Research found that people who consistently suppress emotions have a significantly higher risk of cardiovascular issues. So, meaning your body literally takes the hit for the things you don't say. Because if everything that we see, hear, feel, and maybe also not see and not hear is energy, so where does that go? You not speaking your mind, you not opening up a conflict to just work on it and just open a bit of can of worms just to clear things between you and another one. Where is this energy going if you are not opening up? You hold it inside of you. This energy doesn't leave you. It's actually poisoning you inside, from within. And that is actually something your body keeps the score, as a very famous book from a very famous psychologist was called, or is called. So retaliating or going cold, as I said before, that might feel good for a minute, but it keeps you in a loop of reaction, not healing at all. It keeps you in a loop of reaction, and it's actually not helping you to become a better person. And I know for sure you listening to this podcast that you are here because you want to become a better person. You want to hear some tips, you want to hear some authentic personal stories of mine to relate to and see how I'm struggling with a few things in my life, as we all do. You are here for a reason, and getting cold with someone, or going cold with someone, or being in a retaliation mood is just not what heals the past wounds or resolves a current situation. So one of my favorite psychologists, Dr. Christine Neff's work on self-compassion, I truly adore, and she says that true power is in self-loyalty, not self-protection through revenge or silence. Again, I want to repeat that because I absolutely adore that statement of her, of Christine Neff. She's saying, true power is in self-loyalty, not self-protection through revenge or going silent. And the people who handle conflict the best, they are not the loudest or the coldest. They are the most self-connected. So I also want to offer you a little bit of a solution, or I want to offer you something what you can do instead of going cold or plunging into retaliation. And that's what I want to offer you today. If you've ever been caught, or if you ever caught yourself fantasizing about showing them your other side, pause and ask yourself, what conversation should I have had earlier? What boundary did I override to keep the peace? What did I tolerate that actually broke my values? And let's do the following. Let's do a quick exercise, and I will repeat those questions, and I want you to press pause in that moment and ask yourself, what was a past situation, or maybe a very, very brand new one, something that's currently on your heart, what and where you really know that you want to retaliate, or you wish you could retaliate, or you promised yourself that you show them who you really are, right? As I said before with my friend. And I want you to hit pause, reflect on a past situation if you don't have a current one, or something that is on your heart, as I said before, and then ask yourself those 3 questions. So I hope you pressed pause. I know that I'm sometimes not doing that when other people are saying that. But anyway, I'm pretty sure you have someone or something in mind. And the questions I repeat from before are, what conversation should I have had earlier? What boundary did I override to keep the peace? What did I tolerate that actually broke my values on repeat? Because the goal is not to be cold. It's to be clear to yourself, and taking 100% of the time agency over things that you resent deeply, over a situation, about somebody else. And with those 3 questions, which I absolutely adore, and I think it's a good way to bring back the agency into your life, because I hear so often people are like pointing to the faults of others, but I'm like, okay, where are you in that? Because in a relationship where things go haywire, there is also you. And I have to say, and I have to admit, until today, when I have a conflict, if something goes shit in my life or down the drain with somebody, I have enabled that. Whether I resent that person for how they treat me or what they said, there was once a situation or once something where I conditioned them to disrespect me because I might have not respected myself. And the goal is not to punish. It's about to protect your energy with an intention that you set. And that starts way before your explosion point, way before you come to your edge. It starts with speaking up early, setting boundaries, and learning to tolerate the discomfort of disappointing others. So in the end, you don't end up disappointing yourself. And I know that's easier said than done. Speaking up early is a practice. It's even catching the awareness, because we do so many things unconsciously, like most of the things you do on a daily basis, whether it's something new or a repetitive task, is still done most of the time unconsciously. There's still something where, maybe when you do something new, not so much, because you really have to put a lot of focus in. But if you wake up in the morning until you go to sleep, 95% of the things you do, you say, are unconsciously. So it's really, really important to create the awareness and say, wow, okay, where did I not speak up in the conversation, let's say today? Or where did I not speak up when I felt XYZ? I know it's difficult to set boundaries. It is something that I'm still not perfecting. I still struggle, and it's still very uncomfortable to do so. And I know at some point the discomfort will turn a little bit more into comfort, but I'm not there yet. And also learning to tolerate the discomfort of disappointing others has been an absolute game changer in my life, because I feel like when someone was disappointed, I always felt like I did bad. I should have done better, differently, not managing someone else's feelings, right? This is the hardest thing to get out of sometimes. But I want you to end disappointing yourself for, not avoiding to disappoint somebody else. And again, saying yes when it's a no, when you please and please and please and take on extra work or take on extra things in your life from somebody else, or always being there, is just conditioning other people how to treat you. And I really, really know this work isn't easy, especially for those of us who were taught that being nice was the highest virtue and that you only be loved, get the connection, get the attention and feeling worthy if you give, and give. And your other side doesn't need to be a vengeful version of you. Let it be just an honest one, the direct one, the calmly powerful one. Because again, you don't have to be loud. You don't have to be abrasive. You can do that in a very calm and assertive, but very grounded and centered, in a centered way. And I want to remind you that growth is never about swinging from passive to suddenly aggressive. So I see this sometimes in client work as well, where we really recalibrate because former people pleasers swing to the aggressive version because they just don't know the middle ground. And then I help them center them back into, being assertive, because assertive is never aggressive, but it's also not passive. It's the exact way how you stand your ground, how you are loyal to you, and also ensuring that you do that in a way that lands powerfully on the other side of the other person, and not like where the other person goes into self-defense because they feel like that you just, stepped on their toes in a very abrasive or harsh way. And it's also, especially in this podcast, all about becoming emotional fluent, just enough to stop that pleasing cycle altogether, that good girling, that is just such a lie that we have been told over and over again, and by our mothers and grandmothers as well. So it's a perpetual cycle that I want to end with you. And I want you also to know that you don't have to perform rage to be taken seriously. If you are assertive and really within your center, there is no way to having to taking any retaliating attitudes or anything that is coming across as aggressive. And I also want us to stop abandoning ourselves by understanding that showing my real face because I'm now pissed off or have given, and suddenly I see that very person I gave to doesn't give an F about me, or say something that I feel like is very mean or is not well meant, or when I need something, the person is gone, it's not even here. So with this podcast today, I really want to make sure that you know that you don't have to be aggressive. You don't have to swing from passive to overly aggressive. You can take your time with your inner work and the process. But I don't want you to accumulate more emotional debt. I want you to take stock of some of the relationships you had in the past that may still play a role, or with ongoing relationships. It can be at work, it can be with colleagues, it can obviously be with your boss, with someone in your private relationships, best friends, husband, children, some family members, you name it. And really take stock and see which relationships are the perfect balance for you and where are you actually not the truest in that relationship, because you self-abandon regularly, you get disloyal very quickly to yourself, or where you pedestal someone. It could also be your coach or maybe therapist, but therapists usually call that out, where you pedestal someone because they have supposedly achieved more or done more or have maybe a better life than you. And just see where are you actually resentful towards someone because you might have, given them something, and then you saw the face of the person, that the person might have been toxic or might have let you down, even though you have done so much for them. And instead of putting that into the drawer of forever resentful and hating it and keeping that all inside, you can journal about it. You can reach out to me via DMs at FemMagical on Instagram. and talk about that situation and use those 3 questions that I mentioned earlier, because they really help you to understand the situation from a more in-depth and more agency related perspective. Like, you only resolve things if you see where you have enabled things. We are all enabling situations. If you're in a toxic relationship, you definitely, I'm pretty sure, have not been forced into it by violence. I mean, I hope not that you had such experience in the past. But if I look into client-related experiences, this has all started with them. And that's that's definitely hard to chew on, seeing where we have taken, like where you have maybe enabled this whole thing, because we have been conditioned to blame somebody outside of us. And that's exactly where patterns stay unconscious. You don't detect them easily. Then you have all this rage, this resentment within you, that grief. I haven't mentioned grief, but often we grieve the version of us that has given in that situation or in that relationship, and you don't express it. So you become heavier, and then obviously, as I said before, the physical health aspect, right? So I want to keep that podcast short. We're already in 25 minutes here. So I just want to thank you for listening. And if this resonated with you, if you found this a very helpful podcast episode to reflect and to dig out weeds in your life and doing something with it, then I'd love if you shared this with someone who might also be on the edge of showing their other side, the vengeful side I'm talking about. So I would love if you could share or support this podcast by maybe leaving a review or following along by subscribing to the podcast wherever you listen and tune in from. And until next time, my love. So I wish you a lovely week ahead. Stay bold, clear, and obviously keep doing you, boo. Until soon. Bye.